I believe this belongs to me now.
The doctor slipped me a secret note that read, "Do not go home, run." That night, I discovered my own family was planning to have me committed to a nursing home to steal everything I had. But what they did not know was that I had a secret that would forever change their lives. Before we go on, do not forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. We bring you new stories every day. Hit like and let us know what city you are watching from in the comments. My name is Delilah, and I am 70 years old. For 45 years, I believed I had raised a loving son. Clinton came into my life when he was only 2 years old, an abandoned boy my husband and I decided to adopt. With all the love in my heart, I gave him everything, an education, affection, and decades of sacrifice. When my husband passed away 10 years ago, Clinton became my only family, along with his wife, Marjorie, and my granddaughter, Tamsin. But that Tuesday, during what should have been just a routine doctor's appointment, my world collapsed. Dr. Lowell, my trusted physician of many years, examined me, as he always did, but something in his behavior felt unsettling. His hands trembled slightly as he checked my blood pressure, and he avoided direct eye contact. "Everything looks good, Mrs. Grange," he said, his voice strained. "Your labs are perfect. Your heart is strong. You still have many good years ahead of you." As I got up to leave, I felt him step closer from behind. Suddenly, while I was reaching for my purse, Dr. Lowell discreetly slipped a folded piece of paper deep inside it. He did it so quickly that I almost missed it. "Take good care, Mrs. Grange," he added with a forced smile. "And remember, family is not always what it seems." His words sent a chill down my spine. What did he mean by that? Why had he given me that note in such secrecy? I left the office with my heart pounding, deciding not to open it until I was back home. During the cab ride, countless thoughts rushed through my mind. Dr. Lowell had never acted this strangely. He was a serious professional man who had known my family since Clinton was a teenager. Why would he be passing me secret messages now? When I arrived at the house, Clinton was in the living room with Marjorie and Tamsin. The three of them were whispering in hushed tones, but they fell silent the moment they saw me. Marjorie held several papers in her hands, which she quickly hid behind her back. "How was your appointment, Mom?" Clinton asked, his smile tight and unnatural. "Everything is fine, son. The doctor said I am in perfect health," I replied, forcing a calm tone. Marjorie exchanged a quick glance with Clinton, one that did not escape my notice. Why did they seem so disappointed? Were they hoping the doctor would declare me sick? "That is great, Grandma," Tamsin said, but her voice sounded strangely cold. "It means you still have plenty of time left to enjoy yourself." That evening at dinner, I could not ignore the tension. Clinton barely spoke to me. Marjorie answered in single words, and Tamsin refused to meet my gaze. The air was heavy, sharp enough to cut with a knife. "Is something wrong?" I finally asked. "No, Mom. Everything is fine," Clinton replied quickly. "We are just tired." After dinner, I went to my room with a heavy heart. Something was definitely wrong, and the doctor's note was beginning to make sense. With trembling hands, I pulled the paper from my purse and unfolded it. What I read stole the breath from my lungs. "Mrs. Grange, your family came yesterday. Marjorie asked about your mental state and whether I could certify that you required special care. They want to place you in a nursing home. They also inquired about your inheritance and assets. Do not go home. Run. Dr. Lowell." My hands began to shake uncontrollably. My own family, the son I had raised with endless love, the daughter-in-law I had treated like my own child, the granddaughter who had always been my treasure. Suddenly, everything made sense. The secretive looks, the whispers, the hidden papers, They were not disappointed because I was healthy. They were furious because the doctor had not cooperated with their plans. That entire night, I could not close my eyes. Every single sound inside the house made me jump, as if danger was lurking in the shadows. I lay awake, listening, trying desperately to understand how I had reached this terrible point. How was it possible that the very family for whom I had sacrificed everything was now secretly conspiring against me? At 2 o'clock in the morning, faint voices reached me from the kitchen. My pulse quickened as I got up quietly and crept toward my bedroom door. I pressed my ear to the wood and froze. I could clearly hear Clinton, Marjorie, and Tamsin speaking in hushed tones, but just loud enough for me to catch every poisonous word. "The damn doctor would not cooperate," Marjorie muttered, her voice sharp with irritation. "I told him that the old woman was losing her mind, that she sometimes does not recognize anyone that she leaves the gas on, but he kept insisting she is perfectly fine." "Relax, my love," Clinton answered, trying to soothe her. "We will find another doctor, one who is willing to sign the papers we need." "But what do we do with her in the meantime?" Tamsin asked coldly. "I already reserved my place at the college in the United States. I need that money now, not in 5 years when she finally dies of old age." "Tamsin, do not talk like that," Clinton scolded, though his tone carried little conviction. "You have a point, though. We must act fast. The house is worth nearly $500,000, and with her pension and savings, we could live comfortably until she is gone." Marjorie finished her words like ice. Then she added with cruelty, "Look, I did not marry into this family to take care of some senile old woman. I married you because I thought you would inherit soon, but it has been 10 years, and she is still here, spending what should be our money." "Our money," I repeated the words silently, rage beginning to rise and burn inside my chest. Every dollar earned, with my sweat and my late husband's sacrifices, they dared to see as theirs. "Tomorrow I will speak to the lawyer," Clinton continued. "I will ask if there is a way to have her declared incompetent even without a doctor. There must be a legal loophole." "And if that does not work," Marjorie added coldly, "then we will make her life impossible until she gives up and chooses the nursing home herself. Take away her television, refuse to cook for her, treat her like what she is, a burden." "Mom, do not be so cruel," Tamsin protested for a brief second, but then her voice shifted, filled with resentment. "Although the truth is, I am already tired of pretending to love her. She is always there interfering in our conversations, asking why we stay out so late. It is unbearable." My legs began to tremble uncontrollably. I leaned against the wall, feeling my world slowly collapsing. These were the very people for whom I had once worked 18 hours a day when Clinton was little, for whom I had abandoned my own dreams, friendships, and even my life. "Do you remember my 15th birthday?" Tamsin continued bitterly. "She bought me that horrible red dress and forced me to wear it. All my friends laughed at me. From that day on, I swore I would get back at her someday." "And what angers me the most," Marjorie said, "is how she always brags about being such a good mother, about all she sacrificed for Clinton, as if she were some kind of saint. But the truth is, she only adopted him because she could not have her own children. She used him to fill her emptiness." "Enough already," Clinton said at last. But his voice did not sound indignant. It sounded exhausted, almost detached. "Listen, in a week I am going to talk to her. I will tell her we found a very nice nursing home, that it would be better for her to be among people her own age. And if she refuses, then we will move to Plan B." "What is Plan B?" Tamsin asked eagerly. We make her truly lose her mind, Clinton replied with chilling coldness. We switch her medications. We hide her things. We tell her she did things she never actually did. In a month, any doctor will certify she is mentally ill. The horror of his words hit me like a punch to the chest. Not only did they want to rob me of everything they wanted to destroy my mind, my dignity, my very sanity, they wanted to turn me into exactly what they were already claiming I was. It is perfect, Marjorie said, her tone full of excitement. And once she is committed, we will have access to every one of her accounts. We can sell the house, collect her pension, and dispose of everything without anyone interfering with us. Exactly, Clinton confirmed firmly. And the best part is that no one will ever suspect a thing. To the outside world, we look like the perfect family, lovingly taking care of a sick grandmother. They laughed. The three of them laughed as if they had just shared the funniest joke in the world. They laughed at me, at my blind naivety, at the unconditional love I had poured into their lives. In that precise moment, something inside me snapped. It was not my heart that had already been shattered when I first read Dr. Lowell's note. What broke was my blind faith in human goodness, my belief that love is always reciprocated, and my sacred conviction that family was something unbreakable. First thing in the morning, I am going to make copies of all her cards, Marjorie whispered. That way, we can spend gradually without her even noticing. Great, Clinton approved coldly, and I will go through all her papers. There has to be a will hidden somewhere that we can modify to our advantage. Modify how? Tamsin asked, curious. Let us just say that Grandma, in her mental confusion, decided to leave everything to us because we are the only ones who truly care for her, Clinton explained with a smile in his voice. Dad, you are a genius, Tamsin said admiringly. But we have to be careful. What if someone suspects something? No one is going to suspect anything, Marjorie reassured her with confidence. She has no friends, no other family besides us. She is just a lonely old woman, completely dependent on us. Who would defend her? And in a cruel way, they were right. I had no close friends. I had lost touch with most of them when I dedicated my entire life to raising Clinton. I had no siblings. My parents had long since passed away. I was in every sense vulnerable, but what they never knew, what they had never bothered to discover, was that I carried a secret powerful enough to completely change the balance of power in this nightmare. When my husband died, he left me with more than just love and memories. He left me with an inheritance I had kept hidden all these years, $2.2 million in an offshore bank account only I knew about, in addition to 3 properties overseas that he had purchased as investments. I had never told Clinton about it because I wanted to believe he loved me for who I was, not for what I had. I wanted him to build his own path to be independent. But now I realized with bitterness that I had been a fool. He had never truly loved me. He had only been waiting patiently for me to die so that he could inherit the little he thought I possessed. Well, Clinton said, finally, his tone determined, I think we are all clear. Tomorrow we put the plan in motion. And remember, in front of her, we must keep acting like the loving family we have always pretended to be. Of course, Marjorie replied smugly. I am an excellent actress. I can fake loving her a little while longer. I heard their footsteps retreating toward their rooms. I stayed there frozen, clutching the note from Dr. Lowell tightly in my hand. He was right. I had to run, but I was not going to run like a terrified victim. I was going to run like a woman who had just awakened from a 45-year-long dream. I was going to run to plan the most perfect revenge they could ever imagine. I spent the rest of the night strategizing. I did not close my eyes for a single minute, but for the first time in months, I felt truly awake. I knew I had to act both fast and intelligently. They had underestimated the so-called senile old lady, but soon they would learn they had awakened the wrong woman. At 5 o'clock in the morning, when I was sure everyone was asleep, I silently pulled out my smallest suitcase and packed only the essentials. Personal documents, a few changes of clothes, my medications, and most importantly, the little notebook where I had written down every detail of my secret accounts. Before leaving, I decided to do something that would give me an undeniable advantage in the future. I took out my phone and activated the voice recorder. Then I pretended I had forgotten something and walked slowly back through the house, making sure to pass near Clinton and Marjorie's room. As I expected, they were already awake, whispering about their plans for the day. Marjorie was talking about making copies of my cards, while Clinton mentioned his appointment with the lawyer to ask about the declaration of incompetence. "Do you think she suspects anything?" Marjorie asked nervously. "Impossible," Clinton replied with arrogance. "She is too old and too trusting. Besides, what could she possibly do? She has nowhere to go. She has no money of her own. She has no friends. We are all she has." "It is pathetic," Marjorie added with contempt. "A 70-year-old woman who is completely dependent on us." Marjorie scoffed. "Sometimes I almost feel sorry for her, but then I remind myself she chose this life. She could have remarried after her husband died, but instead she decided to stay here, playing the role of the perfect grandmother. And now she is going to pay the price for that decision." "Perfect," Clinton concluded coldly. That was all I needed. I had recorded enough material to destroy them if I chose to use it. After that, I carefully put the phone away and finished preparing to leave. On the kitchen table, I left a small note that read, "Gone to run some errands. I will be back later. Delilah." I knew they would not suspect anything. After all, the idea of a so-called senile old woman carrying out a calculated escape was something they had never even considered. I slipped out quietly and took a cab straight to the nearest bank. It was Wednesday morning, and I knew I had at least a few precious hours before my family realized that something was terribly wrong. At the bank, I withdrew a considerable amount of cash and verified that my secret accounts were still untouched. The teller, a young woman named Rochelle, looked at me with open curiosity when I requested to withdraw $5,000 in cash. "Are you absolutely sure, ma'am, that is a considerable sum to be carrying around in cash?" she asked with genuine concern. "Completely sure," I replied firmly, looking her directly in the eyes. "I have some very personal matters to take care of." After leaving the bank, I took another cab across town, this time to the most elegant hotel in the city. I knew I needed a place where I would feel truly safe while I organized my next moves. The Grand Imperial Hotel was perfect, discreet, comfortable, and offering services that would allow me to maintain my privacy. "How long will you be staying with us, Wai?" the receptionist, an elegant woman in her 40s, asked politely. "I am not certain," I answered honestly. "It could be 1 week. It could be several months. It depends on how certain family matters unfold." She nodded with professional understanding and handed me the key to a suite on the 10th floor. As the elevator carried me upward, I felt a strange mix of terror and excitement coursing through my veins. For the very first time in decades, I was making decisions entirely for myself. The suite was beautiful, spacious, with a breathtaking view of the city. It was elegantly decorated, calm, and equipped with everything I needed. I sat down heavily on the living room sofa, and for the first time since the night before, I allowed my emotions to fully overwhelm me. I cried. I cried for the 45 years I had spent raising a son who now saw me only as an obstacle. I cried for the humiliations I had endured in silence without ever naming them. I cried for the woman I had once been long before I became the so-called perfect grandmother they now despised. But when my tears finally ran dry, I wiped my face, straightened my back, and began to plan. I opened my notebook and started making a detailed list of everything I needed to do. First, contact my financial advisors overseas to activate my accounts. Second, hire the best lawyer in the city to protect my rights. Third, find a private investigator capable of documenting everything my family had done and everything they were still plotting. At 2:00 in the afternoon, my phone suddenly began to ring. The screen showed Clinton's name. "Mom, where are you? It is already 2:00 in the afternoon, and you have not come back," he demanded. His voice sounded superficially worried, but beneath that tone, I could clearly detect the sharp edge of irritation. "I am fine, son," I replied calmly, steadying my voice. I decided to take a day just for myself. It has been far too long since I allowed myself to do that. A day for yourself. What exactly does that even mean? Where are you right now? Clinton demanded, his voice clearly laced with irritation. "I am in the city, taking care of some things I needed to do." I lied, partially keeping my tone calm. "Do not worry. I will be back when I finish." "Mom, this is not like you. You always tell us where you are going. Marjorie is worried and so is Tamsin. We need to know where you are." For the first time in many years, I heard something in his voice that surprised me. Panic. He was not panicked because of my well-being. He was panicked because he had lost control over me. "You know what, Clinton?" I said with a calmness that surprised even me. "I am 70 years old. I think I am more than old enough to make my own decisions about where to go and what to do." There was silence on the other end of the line. "Mom, you are scaring me. You do not sound like yourself. Are you taking your medications?" he asked. And in that question, I could already hear the beginning of their strategy. He was planting the seed, the poisonous suggestion that I was not mentally well. "I am perfectly fine, son. In fact, I have never been better," I replied firmly, and then I hung up the phone. Immediately, I switched it off. I knew they would call me obsessively, and I needed peace to do what I had to do. That afternoon, I walked into the most prestigious law firm in the entire city. The head attorney, a sharp man in his 50s, named Dr. Keaton Voss, received me personally the moment I explained the size of the case and the amount of money I was prepared to spend for his services. "I need complete legal protection," I told him directly. "My family is trying to have me declared incompetent in order to seize control of my assets. But I have recordings that prove it is all a conspiracy." "Doctor." Voss listened carefully, his eyes narrowing as I played the recordings I had made that very morning. With each passing minute, his expression grew darker and more serious. "Mrs. Grange, this is extremely serious," he said finally. "What your family is planning constitutes elder abuse conspiracy to commit fraud and very likely forgery of legal documents. We could pursue them criminally." "That is exactly what I want," I replied with determination. "But I want to do it strategically. I want them to pay, but in the most painful way possible." Dr. Voss smiled. It was the smile of a man who had just found a case he genuinely wanted to fight. Mrs. Grange, he said confidently, I believe you and I are going to work very well together. I am going to assign my best team to your case, but I need you to tell me everything. Absolutely everything. So I told him everything about adopting Clinton, about my late husband, about the decades of sacrifice, about the humiliations, about the secret inheritance, about it all. Dr. Voss took meticulous notes as I spoke. Do you know exactly how much money you have in your secret accounts? He asked. $2.2 million in cash, plus 3 overseas properties, worth approximately $1.5 million more, I replied without hesitation. Dr. Voss stopped writing and looked at me with renewed respect. Mrs. Grange, you are not merely a victim of family abuse. You are a very powerful woman who has been gravely underestimated by her own family. We are going to use that power to teach them the most important lesson of their lives. For the first time in many days, I felt a genuine smile forming on my face. The war had begun, but now I had the right weapons in my hands. That night, from the safety and comfort of my hotel suite, I turned my phone back on to check my messages. There were 37 missed calls from Clinton, 15 from Marjorie, and 8 from Tamsin. The text messages grew increasingly desperate. Mom, please answer. We are very worried, Delilah. If you do not respond, we are going to call the police. Grandma, where are you? Dad says you are going to get yourself into trouble. I decided to reply only to Clinton. I am fine. Do not worry. I will come back when I am ready. The response came immediately. Mom, this is not normal. You need to come home now. Marjorie made your favorite dinner. My favorite dinner. As if after 45 years, he did not know that Marjorie had never once cooked anything special for me. It was another lie, another crude manipulation. The very next morning, Dr. Voss called me early. Mrs. Grange, I have some very interesting news. My private investigator has already begun working on your case, and he has uncovered something important. Your daughter-in-law, Marjorie, has been using your personal information to apply for credit cards in your name for the past 6 months. What? I exclaimed, feeling indignation surge like fire in my chest. She now has 5 credit cards you never authorized with an accumulated debt of $43,000. Purchases at luxury stores, fine dining restaurants, even a week-long trip to the Florida Keys just last month, Dr. Voss explained. But I never went to the Florida Keys, I said confused. No, ma'am, they went, he clarified gravely. Your family enjoyed a full vacation using your money while they told you they were traveling to visit Marjorie's sick mother. The memory hit me like a cruel slap. I remembered that week perfectly. Marjorie had cried, insisting her mother was gravely ill and they needed to go urgently to care for her. I had given them money for the trip on top of what they had already stolen with those fraudulent credit cards. Dr. Voss, what else did your investigator uncover? I asked, my stomach tightening, already fearing the answer. Your son Clinton lost his job 8 months ago, but he never told you. He has been quietly living off your savings and pension. We also discovered he has already contacted 3 different doctors trying to find one willing to certify that you suffer from senile dementia. Each revelation was another stab deeper and sharper than the last. Not only had they planned to rob me, they had already been draining me for months. Not only did they want to brand me insane, they had already started laying the groundwork. And my granddaughter Tamsin, I asked, my voice trembling, my heart breaking. She has her secrets too. Mrs. Grange, Dr. Voss said. She is 3 months pregnant, but she is lying to her parents about who the father is. The truth is, the man is 50 years old, married, and promised her he would leave his wife, but now he refuses to acknowledge either her or the baby. Oh my God, I whispered in horror. My granddaughter, the young girl I had helped raise with so much love, was entangled in a scandal that could devastate her future forever. There is more, Dr. Voss continued steadily. Marjorie has been having an affair with your neighbor Dave for the past 2 years. My investigator has photographs and videos as proof. Dave Carroll's husband? I asked, stunned, remembering the sweet woman who lived next door. Yes, apparently Marjorie and Dave meet at a motel every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, while Clinton believes she is faithfully attending a yoga class. The irony was vicious. While they were plotting to destroy my life by accusing me of being unstable, each one of them was already living a lie far worse than anything they could ever fabricate about me. If you were in Delilah's position, discovering that every member of your family had betrayed you in secret, would you confront them right away or stay silent and gather more evidence? Comment number 1, if you'd choose silence first. Dr. Voss, I want you to document absolutely everything. I told him, my voice carrying a renewed determination. Every lie, every theft, every betrayal. I want that when the time comes to confront them, we have evidence of everything they have done. Of course, Mrs. Grange, he replied, but I do have one suggestion. Instead of confronting them immediately, what would you think about letting them dig their own grave a little deeper? That afternoon, I decided to do something I had not done in years. I walked into a boutique and bought myself new clothes. I went to the most elegant stores in the city and bought 3 beautiful dresses. An elegant black one, a vibrant red one, and an emerald green one that instantly made me feel strong and powerful. I also bought new shoes, a genuine leather handbag, and even got my hair done at the city's most exclusive salon. The stylist, a young woman named Jenna, worked patiently on my hair for 3 full hours. Ma'am, you have such beautiful hair, she told me while trimming carefully. Why have you neglected it for so long? Because for years I thought it was not worth it to care for myself, I admitted honestly. I thought my only role was to be the invisible grandmother who takes care of everyone else. Well, those days are over, Jenna declared firmly. When I finish with you, you are going to look like the queen you have always been. And she was right. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. My hair had a modern, elegant cut with highlights that brought light to my face. I looked renewed. I looked powerful. It was as if I had stepped out of one of those revenge stories where the victim transforms into the one in control. That night, while having dinner in the hotel restaurant, I decided to call Clinton. Mom, finally, where the heck have you been? His voice sounded furious, not worried. Taking care of myself, son, I replied calmly. You know, I had not taken time for myself in years. It has been very revealing. Mom, this has to stop. You cannot just disappear like this. We are your family. We have a right to know where you are. A right? I repeated, letting the word hang dangerously in the air. Since when does my family have a right over me? Since you started acting erratically, he answered. And there it was again, his attempt to plant the poisonous seed that I was mentally unstable. Erratic. Does it seem erratic to you that a 70-year-old woman finally decides to take a few days for herself? Yes, when that woman has never done anything like that before. Mom, I think you need to talk to a specialist. You are acting very strangely. A specialist? I asked, feigning confusion. What kind of specialist? Clinton. A psychologist, Mom. Someone who can help you with these behavioral changes. Perfect. He was admitting his intentions on a call I was recording. You know what, son? You are right. I do need specialized help, I told him, and I could hear his sigh of relief on the other end of the line. I am glad you understand, Mom. Yes, I understand perfectly. I need a specialist in family fraud, a specialist in elder abuse, and a specialist in psychological manipulation, because that is exactly what you all have been doing to me. The silence on the line was deafening. Mom, what are you talking about? I am talking about the fact that I know everything, Clinton. I know about the fake credit cards Marjorie took out in my name. I know about your plan to have me declared incompetent. I know about the doctors you have contacted. I know everything. Mom, that is ridiculous. I do not know what you are talking about. I think you really need medical help. You know what else I know? Clinton, I know you lost your job 8 months ago and that you have been living off my money while lying to my face. I know about the trip to the Florida Keys you paid for with my stolen money. I know many other things that are going to surprise you a lot when you see them in court. You are delirious, he said, but his voice no longer carried certainty. Delirious last night. I heard you planning how to make me really go crazy by switching my medications. Is that a delusion too? This time the silence was even longer, stretching heavy between us. Mom, come home. We can talk about this as a family. No, Clinton, we are no longer family. A family does not betray you the way you betrayed me. A family does not plan the mental destruction of one of its members just to steal their money. Mom, please. What I am going to do is give you one chance, just one chance, to confess everything, apologize sincerely, and return every single penny you have stolen from me. If you do that, maybe, just maybe, I can find a way to forgive you. We have nothing to confess, he replied, but his voice was trembling. Then I will see you in court, son. Have a good night. I hung up the phone, and for the very first time in days, I felt a deep sense of peace flowing through me. The war had been officially declared, and I held all the weapons I needed to fight it. The following days were an emotional roller coaster. My phone would not stop ringing, vibrating constantly, with desperate calls from my family. First, they tried the love tactic, crying messages from Tamsin saying how much she missed me. Broken voices from Marjorie pleading for forgiveness for supposed misunderstandings, and endless pleas from Clinton begging me to come back home so we could clear things up as a family. When that strategy failed, they quickly switched to fear and intimidation. Clinton left me a voice message that said, "Mom, if you do not come back immediately, we are going to have to take legal measures to protect you from yourself. Your erratic behavior is forcing us to consider legal guardianship." But Dr. Keaton Voss had already prepared me for this moment. Mrs. Grange let them file the petition for guardianship. He advised me during one of our private meetings. It will serve as the best possible evidence of their true intentions. Besides, we already have 3 independent psychiatrists who have certified that you are in perfect mental condition. Meanwhile, my private investigator had been very busy. Every day, I received fresh reports, each one leaving me more shocked than I thought possible. "Mrs. Grange," he told me during our Friday meeting, "your family has dramatically accelerated their plans since you disappeared. Just yesterday, Clinton went to your bank trying to access your accounts. He claimed you had suffered a psychotic episode and that he needed to temporarily handle your finances." "And what did the bank tell him?" I asked anxiously. Fortunately, the bank manager is highly professional. He told Clinton he would need official legal documentation to make any changes to your accounts. But Clinton insisted so aggressively that they eventually had to ask him to leave. There is more. Yes, Marjorie has been selling your belongings. Yesterday, I saw she posted several of your antique furniture pieces on an online sales page. She even attempted to sell your jewelry collection to a pawn shop, but the appraiser refused because the pieces were clearly from an older person and Marjorie could not prove she had authorization to sell them. My heart pounded painfully in my chest. Those jewels were gifts from my late husband, unique treasures he had collected lovingly over decades. And my granddaughter, Tamsin, I asked, my throat tightening. She has been the most active of all, he replied. She has been telling her friends that you are suffering from advanced Alzheimer's and that the family is considering committing you. She has also been using this fabricated story to borrow money from several acquaintances, claiming she needs funds to pay for her grandmother's medical care. Each revelation was sharper than the last, each wound cutting deeper than before. Not only were they trying to steal everything from me, they were destroying my reputation and exploiting my supposed illness to manipulate innocent people. But here is the most interesting part, the investigator continued. Last night, the three of them had a meeting at your house with a man our sources identified as Curtis Redmond, a document forger well known in the city's criminal underworld. A forger? I asked, feeling my blood run cold. Apparently, they are planning to create fake medical documents that certify your mental incompetence. Curtis Redmond specialized in creating fictitious medical histories and forging doctors' signatures. This was far worse than I had ever imagined. Not only did they want to steal from me, they were also willing to commit multiple serious crimes to achieve it. Dr. Voss, I said over the phone that same afternoon, I think it is time to accelerate our plans. If we wait any longer, they will have fake documents that could complicate everything. I agree, Mrs. Grange. Are you ready for phase 2 of our plan? Phase 2 was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of confronting them directly, we were going to let them incriminate themselves publicly, leaving no room for excuses. On Monday morning, I dressed carefully in my new elegant black dress, put on my best jewelry, and headed to the city's most prestigious real estate office. I had scheduled an appointment to view luxury properties, specifically homes worth over $1 million. Mrs. Grange. The real estate agent, a dapper man named Harlan, greeted me with a practiced smile. It is a pleasure to meet you. I understand you are interested in acquiring a high-value property. That is correct, I replied with confidence. I am looking for a home that reflects this new stage of my life. Something elegant, modern, and most importantly, with strong security. Perfect. I have 3 properties that might interest you. What Harlan did not know was that my private investigator had orchestrated everything perfectly. At exactly 11 o'clock in the morning, while we would be visiting the second property, Clinton, Marjorie, and Tamsin would coincidentally arrive at the same real estate office. We were in the middle of touring a spectacular mansion when I heard familiar voices coming from the main entrance. Excuse me, I said to Harlan. I believe some acquaintances of mine have just arrived. When we walked down to the main lobby, there they were, the 3 of them dressed in their best clothes, speaking with another real estate agent. We are interested in selling a property, I heard Clinton say. It is my mother's house, but she is ill, and we have legal power of attorney to handle her affairs. Power of attorney, the agent asked immediately. Could you show me the documentation? Well, we are still processing the official papers, Marjorie replied nervously, shifting on her feet. But it is just a matter of days. We simply want to get a head start on the appraisal process. Hello, family, I said loudly from the stairs, my voice echoing through the lobby. The 3 of them turned around at the same time, and the horror on their faces was worthy of a film. Clinton turned pale. Marjorie's mouth opened without making a sound, and Tamsin literally took a step back. Mom, Clinton stammered, what What are you doing here? The same thing you are apparently, I replied calmly as I descended the stairs, although I am here to buy, not to sell. Harlan, my real estate agent, approached with a professional smile. Do you know these people, Mrs. Grange? Unfortunately, yes. I answered, my voice steady. This is my family, or at least that is what I thought until recently. Mom, we need to talk, Clinton said, trying to sound authoritative but failing miserably. About what, Clinton? About how you were planning to sell my house without my authorization? About the fake documents you are processing? Or perhaps about the power of attorney you just mentioned, which does not exist? The other real estate agent looked visibly confused and uncomfortable. Excuse me, he interrupted. But if there is a legal conflict over the property, we cannot proceed with any appraisal until it is resolved. There is no conflict, Marjorie said desperately. It is just that she has not been right in the head lately. I am not right in the head, I repeated loudly, making sure every single person in the office could hear me clearly. Is that why I am here, buying a $1.5 million house with my own money? Harlan's jaw nearly dropped. $1.5 million? Tamsin whispered, her eyes wide in disbelief. Oh yes, dear granddaughter, I said with a sweet but cutting smile. It turns out your supposedly senile grandmother has a lot more money than you thought. I took out my phone and dialed Dr. Voss's number. Doctor, I am at Richardson Associates Realty. My family is here attempting to sell my property without authorization and claiming they have power of attorney over my affairs. Could you please send someone from your office to document this situation? Of course, Mrs. Grange. Someone will be there in 15 minutes. I hung up and looked at my family with a calmness that even surprised me. Now we are going to wait for my lawyers to arrive, I announced firmly, and they are going to explain to everyone here exactly what legal documents you have, how you obtained them, and why you believe you have the right to sell my property. Clinton tried to approach me. Mom, this is a misunderstanding. We can solve it at home. No, I said sharply, taking a step back. There is nothing left to solve at home. I no longer have a home, at least not with you in it. Marjorie began to cry, but they were tears of sheer panic, not sadness. Delilah, please, we are family. Everything we have done has been for your own good. For my own good, I asked, raising my voice so that every person in the lobby could hear me. Stealing my money with fake credit cards was for my own good. Planning to forge medical documents was for my own good. Hiring a criminal to falsify my medical history was for my own good. Each accusation landed like a bomb exploding in the middle of the real estate office. The other clients and employees had stopped what they were doing, listening intently, their faces showing both horror and disgust. We do not know what you are talking about, Tamsin lied desperately. You do not, I answered coldly, taking out my phone and playing one of the recordings I had secretly made. Clinton's voice filled the space. We make her really lose her mind. We switch her medications. We hide her things. We tell her she did things she did not do. In a month, any doctor will certify that she is mentally ill. The silence in the real estate office was absolute, heavy, suffocating. I could see how the faces of the employees and clients reflected indignation and repulsion. It was a scene straight out of a revenge true story, one that no one who was present would ever forget. That recording is illegal, Marjorie screamed hysterically. Not in this state, I replied calmly, and definitely not when it is recorded to prevent a crime that is being planned. At that precise moment, 2 lawyers from Dr. Voss's firm arrived, accompanied by a public notary. Mrs. Grange, we are from the Voss and Associates firm. We understand there are some people here who claim to have legal authority over your affairs. That is correct, I replied with confidence. I would like you to officially document that these three people have no legal power over me, my properties, or my finances, and that any attempt to exercise such authority constitutes outright fraud. One of the lawyers turned to Clinton. Sir, could you please show me the documentation that supports your authority to sell Mrs. Grange's property? Clinton opened and closed his mouth like a fish gasping for air. We are in the process of... In other words, they have no documentation, I declared, my voice echoing. Because they have no authority, what they do have is a criminal plan to steal everything I own. The public humiliation at the real estate office was just the beginning. When we left the building, my family followed me onto the street, alternately shouting and pleading. Mom, wait, Clinton shouted. Can we not fix this? It has all been a terrible misunderstanding. Grandma, please, Tamsin cried. I love you. You cannot do this to us. Marjorie, for her part, had completely changed her strategy. She no longer feigned love or concern. You are a bitter old woman, she shouted at me as I stepped into my cab. You have used us all these years. Clinton gave you the best years of his life, and this is how you repay him, Marjorie shouted. The best years of his life. I turned toward her from the cab window, my voice sharp. Do you mean the years I worked 18 hours a day to support him, the years I sacrificed my career, my friends, my social life to raise him? Those years you chose to adopt him, Marjorie replied with venom dripping from her words. No one forced you, and now you pretend we owe you eternal gratitude. I do not pretend you owe me gratitude, I replied with a deadly calm. I only expect that you do not steal from me, that you do not betray me, and that you do not plan to drive me insane just to get my money. Apparently, that was already too much to ask. I told the cab driver to start the car, leaving my family shouting helplessly on the curb. That very afternoon, Dr. Voss summoned me urgently to his office. Mrs. Grange, I have extraordinary news, he said, with a smile I had never seen from him before. Your family made a critical mistake after the incident at the real estate office. What kind of mistake? I asked, leaning forward. In their desperation, Clinton went directly to the document forger, Curtis Redmond, and paid him $50,000 in advance to speed up the creation of your fake medical documents. $50,000. Where did they get so much money? From the credit cards they took out in your name, and apparently Marjorie even sold her car. But here is the best part. Curtis Redmond is an FBI informant. He has been collaborating with the authorities for the past 6 months to dismantle a large-scale document fraud ring. I was speechless for a moment. You mean that my family is not only being investigated for family fraud, but they are now under federal investigation for conspiracy to commit medical document fraud? Exactly. The FBI has audio and video recordings of the entire transaction. That night, from the privacy of my hotel suite, I decided to do something I had been putting off for too long. I would confront each member of my family individually, but not face to face. I had something much more powerful in mind. I opened my laptop and created an account on the country's most popular live streaming platform. My title was simple, but effective. A Grandma Tells the Truth About Her Family. At 8 o'clock in the evening, I started my very first live stream. At first, there were only 3 viewers, but to my surprise, the number began to grow rapidly. Good evening. I began looking directly into the camera. My name is Delilah. I am 70 years old, and tonight I am going to tell you a story that will change the way you see so-called perfect families. In just 20 minutes, I had over 500 viewers. By the end of the first hour, there were already more than 3,000. I told them everything from Clinton's adoption to the secret note from Dr. Lowell, from the fraudulent credit cards to the sinister plan to drive me insane. I played the recordings, showed the documents I had compiled, and explained each betrayal with precise, undeniable detail. The live comments were overwhelmingly supportive. What a horrible family. Mrs. Grange, you are a warrior. Sue them, make them pay for everything. My grandmother went through something similar. Thank you for being so brave. But what truly changed everything was when right in the middle of my stream, I received a live call. It was Tamsin. Grandma, please turn off that stream, she pleaded. You are ruining our lives. I am ruining your lives, I repeated loudly, making sure all the viewers could hear me. Do you not think you all ruined mine first? Grandma, everyone is watching us, my friends, my teachers, the whole school. I cannot even leave the house. And how do you think I would feel if you had me committed to a nursing home against my will, declared mentally incompetent, and stolen every cent of my money? That was never going to happen. We were just exploring options. Exploring options, I shouted for the first time in days, losing the composure I had so carefully maintained. Tamsin, I raised you since you were a baby. I changed your diapers. I took you to school. I cared for you when you were sick, and you were there, smiling while your parents planned to destroy me. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening, but the live comments exploded. Tell her the truth. This girl is shameless. Mrs. Grange, do not let her manipulate you. Grandma, Tamsin finally said in a broken voice, I need money for college and for other things. You thought what, Tamsin? You thought I was your personal bank. You thought you could collaborate on a plan to drive me insane and then use my money to pay for your studies. It is not like that, Tamsin murmured. Then how is it? I asked, my voice sharp. Explain it to the 4,000 people who are watching us right now. Explain to them why you told your friends you needed to borrow money to pay for my medical care while I was perfectly fine. Another silence followed, then a barely audible whisper. How do you know that? Because I am not the senile old woman you think I am. I know everything, Tamsin. Absolutely everything, including things about you that even your parents do not know. What? What things? She asked, her tone filled with panic. Things that could ruin your future much more than this stream ever could. She hung up immediately, but the damage was already done. The viewers had heard my granddaughter implicitly admit that she knew about the plans against me. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time it was Clinton, and he sounded absolutely furious. Mom, turn off that stream right now, he roared. Hello, Clinton, I said sweetly. Do you want to talk to the 5,000 people who are watching us? This is defamation. I am going to sue you for slander. Slander. Is it slander to play audio recordings where you all plan to drive me crazy? Is it slander to show bank statements that prove you have been stealing from me for months? Those recordings are illegal, he shouted desperately. Not in this state, son, and definitely not when they are made to prevent a crime. But tell me, do you want to explain to all these viewers why you paid a document forger $50,000 yesterday afternoon? The silence was so long I thought he had hung up. How do you know that? Because Curtis Redmond is an FBI informant. Congratulations, Clinton. Now you are not only being investigated for family fraud, but also for federal conspiracy. You are lying. Want to bet? Check the news tomorrow morning. Or better yet, wait for the federal agents to knock on your door. The live comments went wild. FBI, FBI, FBI. This family is going to jail. Mrs. Grange is a detective. Justice for Grandma. Mom swear, Clinton said in a broken voice, completely different from his earlier fury. Please stop this. We can still fix it. We are family, are we not, Clinton? I replied, with genuine sadness. A family does not betray. A family does not steal. A family does not plan the mental destruction of one of its members. What you are is not a family. It is a criminal organization that simply shares a last name. We gave you 45 years of our lives, he insisted. You did not give me 45 years. I gave you 45 years of my life. I gave up everything for you. And you were only waiting for me to die so you could inherit what you thought I had. We need that money, Mom. We have debts problems. And that is why you decided to drive me crazy. That is why you chose to steal from me. That is why you thought you could destroy the last years of my life. It was not personal, he said at last. Those 3 words hung in the air like a death sentence. It was not personal. 45 years of love, sacrifice, and dedication, and to him, it was not personal. You are right, Clinton, I said finally. It was not personal for you all, and from now on, it will not be personal for me either. I will see you in court. I hung up and looked at the camera. And that, dear viewers, was my family, I said with a sad smile. Tomorrow I will continue with this story. Good night. I ended the stream with over 7,000 viewers and hundreds of supportive messages. For the first time in weeks, I went to sleep feeling that I was not alone in this battle. The next morning, I woke up with my phone practically exploding with notifications. My live stream had gone completely viral. There were thousands of messages of support, hundreds of interview requests from national and international media outlets, and most surprisingly, dozens of messages from other older people who had lived through similar betrayals. Mrs. Grange, one message said, "My son did the exact same thing to me. Thank you for being brave enough to share your story. You have inspired me to finally take action." Another said, "I am a lawyer specializing in elder abuse. Your case is textbook. If you need additional help, I am at your disposal, completely free of charge." But the message that struck me the most was from a woman named Harriet Langford. Mrs. Grange, I am a social worker. Just yesterday, after watching your stream, I prevented a family from having their 75-year-old father committed to a nursing home. Your courage is saving other grandparents. That same morning, Dr. Voss called me at 9 o'clock sharp. Mrs. Grange, I have news that will change absolutely everything, he said, his voice carrying a smile I had not heard before. The FBI arrested Curtis Redmond last night, and during his interrogation, he confessed everything about the transaction with your family. Everything. Not only did he admit that Clinton had paid him to forge medical documents, but he also revealed that your family had asked him to create a fake will in your name, one that left everything to them, and declared that you were mentally incompetent at the time of signing. I felt as if I had been punched in the stomach. A fake will. Apparently the plan was far more elaborate than we had initially thought. They were going to use the fabricated medical documents to have me committed. Then with the forged will, they would wait for me to die in the nursing home, and only then would they legally inherit everything. My God, I whispered. How long had they been planning this? According to Curtis Redmond, Marjorie had first contacted him 4 months ago. This had not been some desperate last-minute decision. It had been a carefully calculated and premeditated conspiracy. That afternoon, While I was still processing this devastating new information inside my hotel suite, I received an unexpected call. It was Tamsin, and for the very first time in weeks, her voice sounded genuinely broken. "Grandma, can we please talk, just you and me?" "What for, Tamsin?" "For you to lie to me again, for you to try to manipulate me emotionally." "No, Grandma. To tell you the truth, the whole truth, I cannot take this anymore." Something in her voice made me hesitate. Against my better judgment, I decided to take a risk. "Okay, but it will be in a public place with witnesses, and I am going to record the entire conversation." "Whatever you want, just please," she answered, almost begging. We met at the cafe in the hotel lobby. Tamsin arrived with eyes swollen from crying, dressed carelessly, looking very different from the vain girl I had always known. "Grandma Askan," she began, before I could say anything. "You have to know that I never wanted things to go this far." "How far, Tamsin? How far did you think was acceptable?" "At first, Mom and Dad only talked about convincing you to move into a luxury nursing home. They said it would be better for you, that you would have company from people your own age." "And what did you think?" I thought maybe they were right. The house is very big for you alone, and sometimes you seemed lonely." She stopped, looked me directly in the eyes, then whispered, "But that was before I knew about the money." "What money? They did not know about my secret accounts." "No, but they knew about your pension, about the savings you had in the local bank, and about the value of the house. Mom had been investigating for months, going through your papers when you were not home. She would call your bank, pretending to be you. She even went to see your old boss to ask about your retirement pension." Each revelation was another stab to my heart. And when they decided it was not enough to just convince me, I pressed. Tamsin began to cry openly. "When Mom found out that you could live another 20 years, she said she could not wait that long, that she needed the money now." "What did she need the money for, so urgently?" "To pay Dad's debts. He lost a lot of money on sports betting over the past 2 years. He owes over $100,000 to some very dangerous people." Another shocking revelation. Clinton had not only lost his job, he was a compulsive gambler drowning in dangerous debts. "And what part did you play in all of this?" I asked softly but firmly. I needed money for college and for other things." Tamsin admitted, her voice trembling. She unconsciously touched her belly. "Other things, like what, Tamsin?" "I am pregnant, Grandma." She finally confessed her words, breaking into the air like glass shattering. "The father he is a married man who does not want to know anything about the baby. I need money to decide what to do." My heart broke for my granddaughter, but at the same time, I also felt a deep burning rage. "And that is why you decided to participate in a plan to drive me crazy." "I did not know they wanted to drive you crazy," she shouted, attracting glances from other cafe customers. "I just thought they wanted a doctor to say you needed special care." "What is the difference, Tamsin?" I do not know. I guess there is not a difference," she whispered before breaking into tears. She cried silently for several minutes, her shoulders trembling. "Grandma, when you left the house, everything fell apart. Dad and Mom do nothing but fight. Mom says it is all Dad's fault for gambling. Dad says it is all Mom's fault for being too ambitious. And I am in the middle, pregnant and terrified. And now what do you want from me?" I asked, my tone still firm. I want you to forgive me. And I want you to know that if you testify against Mom and Dad, I am going to tell the truth. Everything I know, everything I saw, everything I heard." I remained silent, processing this unexpected offer. Why would you change sides now? "Tamsin, Because last night, Dad told me that if everything goes wrong, they are going to say that I was the one who had the idea to steal your jewels. They are going to say that I manipulated them into doing it because I needed money for drugs. Drugs? I asked in disbelief. I do not do drugs, Grandma, but Dad says it is more credible to blame the rebellious teenager than to admit that they planned everything. The final betrayal. Not only had they betrayed me, but now they were willing to betray their own daughter to save themselves. Do you have proof of what you are telling me? Tamsin took out her phone with trembling hands. I have recordings of all their fights since you left. I have text messages where they plan to blame me. I even have videos of Mom counting the money she got from selling your jewels. Why did you record all of that? Because a week ago I realized that when all this is over, they are going to abandon me too. I am underage, I am pregnant, and I have no money. They are going to need a scapegoat, and that scapegoat is going to be me. I looked at her intently, searching for any trace of deception, trying to determine if this was another manipulation, or if for once I was finally hearing the truth. Tamsin, if you decide to testify against your parents, your life will change forever. Your relationship with them will be completely over. My relationship with them is already over, Grandma. From the moment they decided to use me as part of their plan against you, and then decided to sacrifice me to save themselves. And what do you want in exchange for your testimony? I want you to help me finish high school. I want you to help me make the right decision about my pregnancy. And I want you to teach me how to be a strong woman like you. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of the old connection I once had with my granddaughter. Tamsin, if you do this, if you help me get justice, I am not only going to help you with high school and with your situation. I am going to teach you something much more valuable. What? She asked with wide, tearful eyes. I am going to teach you that real family is not defined by blood, but by loyalty, respect, and genuine love. And that sometimes protecting yourself means moving away from toxic people even if you share their last name. Tamsin extended her hand across the table. Deal, Grandma. I shook her hand, knowing with absolute clarity that this moment would mark the beginning of the end for Clinton and Marjorie. Deal, my girl, but now you are my ally, and allies protect each other. Are you ready for that responsibility? More ready than I have ever been for anything in my life, she answered firmly. The day of the trial came faster than I could have ever anticipated. In only 3 weeks, Dr. Voss had built a case so airtight that even my family's expensive lawyer advised them to plead guilty in order to negotiate a lesser sentence. But Clinton and Marjorie refused. They stubbornly wanted to take the case to trial, convinced they could manipulate the jury with their false image of the loving family, selflessly caring for the confused grandmother. The day the trial began, I arrived at the courthouse, dressed in my most elegant black suit, accompanied by Tamsin, who had decided to move in with me at the hotel for the duration of the legal process. Are you nervous, Grandma? She asked as we slowly climbed the courthouse stairs. No, my girl, I replied calmly. I am at peace. The truth always finds its way out. The courtroom was absolutely packed. My story had become national news after multiple outlets had covered my live streams. There were journalists, television cameras, and dozens of older people who had come specifically to show their support. When I saw Clinton and Marjorie sitting at the defense table, I barely recognized them. Clinton had lost a significant amount of weight, with deep, dark circles shadowing his eyes. Marjorie looked gaunt, nervous, and far older than her years. The stress of knowing they were facing long years in prison had clearly taken its toll. The prosecutor presented the case masterfully. He played the audio recordings where they openly planned to drive me insane. He showed the evidence of credit card fraud. He explained in detail the conspiracy with Curtis Redmond, the document forger, and finally presented proof of the fraudulent mortgage on my house. But the most shocking moment came when Tamsin took the stand as a witness for the prosecution. "Miss Grange," the prosecutor asked her, "can you tell us what you heard when your parents discussed their plans for your grandmother?" With a firm, clear, almost unwavering voice, Tamsin narrated every conversation, every plan, and every betrayal. She described how they had plotted to switch my medications, how they calculated exactly how much money they would gain from my eventual death, and how they had decided to blame her if everything went wrong. When she finished testifying, the silence in the courtroom was absolute. I even saw several members of the jury wiping tears from their eyes, visibly moved by her courage. The defense attorney tried to discredit Tamsin, suggesting she was lying in order to get money from me. "Miss, is it not true that you are pregnant and need money?" he asked aggressively. "Yes, I am pregnant," Tamsin replied with dignity. "And yes, I need help, but I am not lying to get it. I am telling the truth because it is the right thing to do." "And is it not convenient that your grandmother promised to help you financially in exchange for your testimony?" the lawyer pressed. "My grandmother did not promise me money in exchange for my testimony," Tamsin replied firmly. "She promised me support because I finally had the courage to do the right thing. There is a difference." When it was finally my turn to testify, I walked to the stand, feeling the weight of all the eyes in the courtroom pressing down on me. "Mrs. Grange," the prosecutor asked gently, "can you tell us how you felt when you discovered your family's plans?" "I felt like I had lived a lie for 45 years, I replied. "They did not just betray me. They made me question every single moment of love I thought I had shared with them. They made me wonder if I had ever been anything more than an obstacle standing between them and my money." "And how do you feel now?" "Now I feel free," I said, locking my gaze directly on Clinton. "Free from the lies, free from the manipulation, and free from the obligation to love people who never truly loved me." The defense attorney tried to make me look like a vengeful, wealthy woman, exaggerating her situation. "Mrs. Grange, is it not true that you have millions of dollars that you never mentioned to your family?" "It is true that I have resources they were unaware of," I admitted firmly. "But those resources do not justify conspiring to drive me insane, stealing my identity, or forging legal documents." "Do you not think your family deserved to know about that money?" he pressed. "Deserved why?" I raised my voice with conviction. "For planning my forced commitment, for stealing from me for months, for betraying me in the cruelest way possible." The trial lasted for 5 long days. In the end, the jury deliberated for only 2 hours before returning with a unanimous verdict, guilty on all counts. Clinton was sentenced to 12 years in prison for conspiracy, fraud, forgery of documents, and elder abuse. Marjorie received 10 years for the same charges, plus additional years for mortgage fraud. When the judge read the sentences, Marjorie collapsed in tears, while Clinton simply stared straight ahead with an empty, defeated expression. After the trial, as we walked out of the courthouse, surrounded by cameras, a reporter asked me, "Mrs. Grange, do you feel that justice was served?" "I feel that legal justice was served," I replied calmly. "But the real justice was discovering who I truly was before it became too late to enjoy the rest of my life." 6 months later, I bought a smaller but beautiful house on the outskirts of the city. It was full of natural light and had a lovely garden where Tamsin and I often spent our afternoons planting flowers and talking about dreams for the future. Tamsin finished high school with honors and decided to keep her baby. Now she is studying law, inspired by everything we went through together. She told me she wants to specialize in elder protection, determined to prevent what happened to me from happening to anyone else. Grandma, she said a few weeks ago, as we worked in the garden, do you ever regret adopting Dad? I do not regret adopting him, I replied gently, caressing the roses we had planted. I only regret not having understood sooner that kindness should never come at the cost of my own self-destruction. And what did you learn from all of this? She asked, her voice full of genuine curiosity. I learned that real family is not defined by blood or shared years, but by respect, loyalty, and love. I learned that it is better to be alone with dignity than to be surrounded by betrayal, and I learned that it is never too late to start over. Now, at 71 years old, I am living the fullest life I have ever had. I travel, I read, I have new friends, and above all, I share a genuine bond with my granddaughter, who has become the daughter of my heart that I always longed for. Clinton and Marjorie have tried to contact me from prison several times, but their letters go directly to the trash unopened. Some doors once closed should never be opened again. Every night before going to sleep, I thank life for three things: for Dr. Lowell, who had the courage to warn me; for my own inner strength that I never knew I possessed; and for discovering that endings can also be beginnings if we have the courage to write our own story. Kindness is still important in my life, but now I practice it with wisdom. I help other older people facing situations similar to mine. I support Tamsin in her studies, and together we have started a foundation to prevent elder abuse. But most importantly, I finally learned to love myself as much as I had loved everyone else my whole life. And that is the most valuable lesson of all. A story that some might compare to those found in Reddit revenge stories. But for me, it was not fiction. It was my life, my pain, and ultimately my victory. If you were in my place, what would you have done? Would you have found the courage to break away from those you loved most when they betrayed you so cruelly? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. I would love to hear your voices and your stories. Do not forget to like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss more stories like this one. And check out the video suggested on your screen. It is a story I am very proud of. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you in the next story.